Welcome back to the deep dive. We know you want the core info fast, so let's jump right in. Today, we're looking at Kadir Kubashik's article, A Hit Sanduve Electric. That translates to the Ark of the Covenant and electricity.
Right. And we're deliberately stepping beyond the purely religious takes.
We want to explore the ideas in this article about the Ark's potential physical nature, maybe as an energy device.
Exactly. Could it be more than just a sacred chest? The article uses the Torah itself, specifically Exodus, as a starting point for this analysis.
Okay, so let's start there. Exodus 25. What does it actually say the Ark looked like? What was it made of?
Well, the description is quite specific. It details acacia wood, but then it's overlaid entirely with pure gold, inside and out.
Gold inside and out. Interesting. And it held things.
Yes, traditionally the stone tablets, the Ten Commandments, plus Aaron's rod that budded, and a plot of manna.
And crucially, not just anyone could touch it. There were rules, strict ones.
Extremely strict. Only certain Levitical priests could carry or handle it. And there are stories, like Uzzah in the book of Samuel, who touched it to steady it, and, well, he died instantly.
Yeah, that's a pretty stark warning. Okay, so that's structure wood sandwiched by gold and the extreme danger. This is where Kubashuk introduces an electrical idea, isn't it?
It is. He points out that structure conductor, insulator conductor, is basically the blueprint for an electrical capacitor.
Like, what specifically?
Like an early version called a Leyden jar. They were used in the 18th century to store static electricity, sometimes at very high voltages. The principle is similar. Separated conductive layers.
Okay, a high voltage container. The article also mentions an arcsing property. What does that mean in layman's terms?
Arcsing is just an electrical discharge. Think of a spark jumping across a gap, like with static electricity, but potentially much more powerful if high voltage is involved.
So the arcs could maybe discharge energy?
That's the interpretation Kubashik explores. And this ties back to only specific priests interacting with it. The article suggests it wasn't just about ritual purity, but maybe needing a certain frequency alignment.
Frequency alignment, like being tuned into it somehow.
Sort of. Making it perhaps less a passive symbol and more a device that interacts based on maybe consciousness or some specific human biofrequency. Not just anyone could approach safely.
Let's try to pull these threads together then. You've got the gold layers acting like conductors.
Right. Potentially for an electric arc or field.
The acacia wood in between acting as
An insulator,
Yeah.
separating the conductive layers, essential for a capacitor.
And the stories, like Uzzah's death.
Instead of purely divine wrath, perhaps a lethal electric shock, a massive discharge from the stored energy. It's a possibility raised by this perspective.
And the priests, the specific lineage allowed to handle it.
Maybe they had the knowledge, the training, or even, as the article speculates, a kind of biological or conscious resonance. That frequency alignment, again, needed to handle it without harm.
So the hypothesis here isn't just it's stored electricity, but something more complex.
Yes, the article frames it as potentially a coded device, a piece of technology synchronized with consciousness, rather than just a mythological object.
Okay, so wrapping this idea up, Kubashuk isn't just saying it was a battery, he's suggesting a control system.
Pretty much. An energy and frequency-based system. The article posits functions like maybe measuring consciousness levels.
Wow, okay.
Accepting or interacting with those who had the appropriate frequency, whatever that might mean, and, well, eliminating those who didn't match.
That definitely shifts the God-human relationship described in those texts. It becomes not just moral, but frequency-based.
Physical. It introduces that dimension, yes. And it leads to speculation about what was really inside. Perhaps not just stone, but some kind of coded energy matrix influencing human awareness.
A programmed energy source.
That's the line of thinking. The broader theory presented is that many ancient symbols or sacred objects might actually represent misunderstood, highly sophisticated, perhaps consciously engineered technologies.
Right. It's a fascinating, maybe unsettling way to look at it. So here's something for you to think about. If we start interpreting some ancient accounts through this lens of energy, frequency, technology, how does that reshape our understanding of history, of human potential?
And what does it mean if consciousness itself is a key variable in interacting with, well, with whatever these things might have been?
Definitely gives you something to mull over. Thanks for exploring this angle with us.
Always interesting to consider these possibilities.